How's it going, everyone? Today we are here with Randal.
Hi, guys.
Hey.
Oh, it's been a long day.
Randal's the Whiskey Shaman, and we are pouring a few of, Randal's pouring a few of his favorite whiskeys that he can get locally, and we're going to pull those apart to see what interesting things we can use as inspiration, learning points, talking points, calibration points for what we can do as home distillers. How's it going, Chasers? I hope you're having a kick-ass week. I'm Jesse. This is Still It. That's Randal.
Yes, it is.
And Randal has whiskey for us. So, if you don't know, Randal is the mod on the Chasers of the Craft Facebook group. Words are hard today, guys. Sorry, we're struggling just a little bit.
It's 9 o'clock in the morning and we're drinking whiskey. So, after a day at the Bastard's Ball. So,
yeah, forgive us here, guys. So it's always a pleasure to hang out with Randal. I don't get to do it nearly as much as I would love to.
Awesome. Awesome.
But you've just started up a new business as well, man. Like, tell us about that. What's the deal?
Okay. Well, I'm a level 1 whiskey som, soon to be level 2 here in November. And I just decided that I wanted to do personal tastings for people that don't really know whiskey that well and don't know if they want to get into whiskey, or eventually it'll turn into, non-whiskey stuff, because we have some samples that aren't whiskey here too as well. So the business I have is called Whiskey Business FBG, because I live about an hour and a half away from here in Fredericksburg, Texas. And if you go to whiskeybusinessfbg.com or .net, I don't know, I got both of them, but I didn't know which one to get, so I got both. And it'll just kind of give you a rundown of everything that I do. It's personal whiskey tastings. I go to your house, or your business or your whatever, and we drink some cool whiskey. If we want to get nerdy, we can get nerdy. If we want to just hang out like we're doing and have some cool whiskeys, we do it.
So let's go with the commercial whiskey first.
Okay. Few Whiskey out of Illinois, right outside of Chicago. They are a smaller distillery, which is what we're looking for. But as you can tell, I've had a couple of drams of this, and it's really good. This is a straight bourbon whiskey, 46.5%. So it's not harsh. There's nothing to it. Here, you can use my brand new glass that we got from the Bastard's Ball. And we're doing tiny pours because it's 9 o'clock in the morning, like I said. So
yeah, I'll be honest, I'm probably not going to even finish the tiny pours.
Exactly. We might have to have a dump glass or something.
Ooh.
Yeah, no, this one to me is really good. And the Vice Chancellor here at the Wizard Academy, he did a deep dive on this, and I have as well on my channel on Instagram, _Whiskey Shaman. It's just a really good, straightforward bourbon, but it's not like the typical Kentucky bourbon. It's a little bit different. It's a little softer, but then has a pretty tight wood profile as well. If you're aging your homemade spirits in like a wood, in a glass jar or something, you get a lot of wood influence very early. So what happens, this to me has a pretty tight wood influence that does kind of compare to that. And that's kind of why I picked it.
I agree, dude. The first thing I noticed when I smelt it was it had that vanilla oak, but slightly sawdusty oak thing. Mm-hmm. And I've noticed that a bunch in home distilled spirits.
Yes.
And I wouldn't say it's a note that I dislike,
right?
But it is a note that I can look for.
You can pick out
to pick a homemade product.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
The other thing that's really similar, it's softly astringent,
right?
But dialed up to like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
There's a lot of it.
Exactly.
Another thing that shows up a bunch, like you're saying, it ages. If you're aging quickly, that's going to show up a lot.
Exactly.
The interesting thing is that neither of those notes are ruining it for me.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
And so like it's just a good all around bourbon. See, being a whiskey shaman, a shaman kind of means that you're the guide. My moniker is I'm your guide to the spirit world, right? So yeah, exactly. So
love it.
I use that as the terminology, like whatever. If you have to drink it on ice or with whatever, it doesn't matter. Just enjoy the spirit. And so this bourbon came to me in the spirit world, and it was left under my doorstep by the liquor fairy. And this is a bourbon that is 30 months old. So for a homebody, it's relatively
old,
old.
yeah.
It's 55% though, so it's at what is now cast strength. What I noticed on this one right away is the color's pretty similar, but I was told that the still that was used has a special moniker to it that gives like a waxy walnut, and I get that on this as well. The vanillas are really tamped down, which is kind of it's a little bit lacking in that area, but that's the thing. When you're doing such a small batch, like a gallon, half gallon, whatever, and you're trying to let it sit for a long time, it can get over tannic. And I feel like this is right at that threshold of getting to the point of like any longer, it's going to go down. So, it'd be something that I would need to talk to the person and be like, hey, this, we might need to pull this and bottle it here pretty soon. But it has a similar profile, but at 55%, it doesn't drink anything like 55%.
Very approachable on that front. It does have a similar level of tannin to this.
Exactly.
Very similar wood profile.
Right.
A little bit darker though.
Yeah, it is. It is.
More vanilla, more walnut.
Right. The whole reason of doing this is so that you can say, hey, if you want a good bourbon, here's a good bourbon. But if you're trying to make that profile, you can kind of profile your bourbon around that.
I can completely see what you're saying here is that this is a really nice balanced commercial bourbon.
Right.
With aspects that are totally showing through.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I was hoping. And I was hoping he would say that because,
Yeah.
if not, this is all for nothing.
Yeah, let's go home. It gives an interesting gamut of what is relatively possible within like 2 to 3 years worth of aging.
Right.
Interesting point about getting it off the oak before it goes too far. Because I feel like this is, you could even make an argument to say that this has gone too far.
It might have.
Depending on taste.
Yeah.
I know when I was new to this, and a lot of other people I've seen it over and over again, they'll fixate on a certain flavor they're getting and see it as a flaw instantly rather than seeing it as something that can be balanced and part of a whole.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
All right.
All
Let's move on. Of course, we only have 4 glasses because somebody...
Some asshole lost his glass.
Lost my glass. Water the trees. Yeah, I know. Sorry. The whiskey gods will be fine. Just do it. You know what? Let's do some brandy.
Ooh.
Andalusia makes a kick-ass brandy.
Nice.
So this is their first release. It's with the orange muscat, and so it's pretty floral and herbal and stuff like that. It's really. I should have poured to you first. I'm sorry.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
It is a thing.
Okay.
When you're a sommelier, there's a very strict rules of who you pour for and with, and
Now, I'm going to tell you this right now. You will not get this in New Zealand.
No,
I don't know if you're going to get it anywhere else.
No, you're not. I'm sorry.
So basically, screw you all.
Yeah, we get to have fun, and you don't. To me, it smells like, and this sounds bad, but it's not, like lemon pledge or lemon, like a lemon disinfectant.
There is totally some of that to it. Yes.
Not in a bad way. I mean, I know a lot of times when you're talking about whiskey, some of the notes you say, like when you get into a peated Scotch from Islay, you're like, oh, it smells like cigarette butts and tire fire and stuff like that.
Sounds horrible.
Yeah, it sounds horrible, but it's delicious.
Yeah.
So the reason I picked this, for one, is the only brandy I had. So that you get that. Moose and the guys over there, they knocked it out of the park. And then on the palate, super light, floral, a little astringent too. But I'm gonna look at the label. I should have did all this before. It's cast strength though, 119 proof. So
does not drink like that.
Yeah, it does not. It does not. 2 years. It's 2 years old, and look, and so it's in used oak, of course, which they do a lot of that in Andalusia, being that they do a lot more single malts and stuff like that. They use a lot of used oak. It's
almost effervescent too.
It's almost sparkly,
tingly, but
on your
not
tongue.
headsy.
Yep. Okay, so this is the home version. This one is only 45% alcohol. It's been proofed down because it was pretty spicy at first, so it was proofed down a little bit. This is a blackberry peach brandy, but this is a 2-year-old. To me, this one right away, it's a similar nose, but it's a little bit different. I actually get the peach where I'm from in Fredericksburg. It's peaches are a big deal. It brings out a flavor that is favorable. That's hard to say, but
so the biggest similarity I notice is the general experience from beginning to end. Yep. Big fruity nose. Mm-hmm. Hints of peach, I'll give you that.
Yep.
But it doesn't smell like peach.
No,
it doesn't
it's
taste
not.
like peach.
There's no flavoring or anything like that in it to make it peach. It's just, and the blackberry, I think, is just there kind of as a backbone to kind of give it some stability. And it also gives it, if you eat blackberries or, raspberries, they can be very tart sometimes. And so it kind of gives it that tartness, but then sitting on used oak, it really just kind of helps to balance everything out. And being on it for 2 years, that really helps the whole spirit mellow out, because when you put it in there at like 55, 60%, it needs to mellow out because it's pretty hot and spicy when you first put it in there. So I just feel like this was really similar. Obviously, it's not, like we keep saying, it's not ever going to be the same exact, but
it's very ingredients too, right?
Totally different ingredients.
I think that the lesson for me here to pass on to people that are doing this is that that it almost never happens that a fruit brandy tastes like the fresh
Absolutely.
thing. Like that's just not what happens. Yeah. Think of wine. Like, when's the last time you had a wine that tasted like grape juice?
You don't. Not what happens. You don't. Yeah.
And then we're distilling it as well. But there is a very interesting journey that happens through the drinking experience.
Absolutely.
It's light, effervescent, funky on the nose, and then I don't know how to describe it, man. But they often, when I've had fruit brandies, rakia, eau de vie, whatever you want to call it, they leave your palate feeling very cleansed and wanting more really quickly.
Right.
A good brandy.
Exactly.
And both of these are a good brandy in that sense.
Right.
The bad ones are flabby, oxidized, cardboardy, stewed raisin sort of flavors. So I think for me, that's probably the biggest takeaway I'm taking for this. So if you're new to brandy and you've only had crappy brandy, sherry, that's not what it tastes like. You're not doing it wrong. You're probably doing it better.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, when you're doing it yourself, try and then try again and then come back, but keep a sample of what you thought was the crap that you didn't want. Keep a sample of it. Just let it sit. Even if it's sitting unaged, it will mellow and mature and just kind of break down all those congeners. Because, as you're distilling it, there's so many volatile chemicals in that pathway that they just have to calm down. And sometimes that's why they put a lot of whiskeys in for 10 years, stuff like that, because they need to just calm down and mellow and just kind of smooth out. All right, this is going to look familiar. This is Few. Again. Okay, you can find this. I promise you can find it. But this is what they call their American straight whiskey. So it's not bourbon. So it's used oak, and they smoked it, I have to look, in cherry wood.
I think I know where you're going with this one already, Randal. Mm-hmm. And that is smoking your own grain at home.
Absolutely.
With different woods.
Absolutely.
Is actually really accessible.
It is.
And it can be done horribly. I've had some horrible and not from home distillers, from commercial distillers.
From commercial, exactly.
Stuff that literally just tastes like an old smoker. Mm-hmm. You open up a Traeger that hasn't been used in a month.
Yeah. It's got like grease.
Yeah. Black mold growing in the back.
Exactly. And they just try and make it work.
Yeah. And others that are really interesting. So I'm keen to try this one, man.
So this is basically their bourbon, but they put it in used oak, and then they smoked the malt with cherry wood. You don't get the smoke until like almost the finish.
Dude, I have never had, how do I put this? Cherry smoke never tastes like cherry.
Exactly.
But it pairs with the cherry note in the bourbon.
Absolutely.
Beautifully.
Absolutely.
That is amazing.
Yeah. And like the smoke isn't like a smoky scotch or something like that. It's not heavy at all.
No.
It's so light. And of course, coming off the heels of the brandy, I still have that like effervescence in my mouth. So that smoke just kind of boosts that up, and which is kind of cool actually. If you're doing a flight or something, that's kind of a cool thing to do. It's just different. It's a little bit different. It's not like a normal bourbon, which I know most people who chase this craft, they're not trying to do the normal thing. They want to make cool like polenta whiskeys and stuff like that. And that's why I love some of these smaller distilleries. And I know in your area, wherever that is, you can find a craft distillery that's doing cool stuff. This homemade version, the spirits have told me, I'm going along with that. You know what I'm talking about. That their son, 9 years old, actually helped them make this. Obviously, can't drink it for a little while still, but it was aptly named Poison Skull. This is smoked oak. The oak itself was smoked. So this is only 3 months old. So it's very young, 60% right out of the barrel. Right away, you get the smoke up front. Not peat smoke, just smoke.
Yeah.
And it's got some pretty good color, but obviously it needs to sit for a lot more time. And Jesse, I know you've been talking back and forth with Ben over there at Bad Mo Barrels, and he's totally sold out, by the way. I know he has a wait list. I'm on it. But putting this in a Bad Mo barrel for 2-3 years, it would be pretty amazing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So,
Different. It's different.
The first one, very restrained smoke on the nose.
Right.
Heavier on the palate.
Right.
This one's the opposite.
Exact opposite. Exactly.
Smells like you're going to get a whole lot of smoke on the nose, but then on the palate, it's quite chill.
Yep.
Interesting.
And eventually with time, obviously, this will turn into, it'll have a lot of vanilla notes and cherry and stuff like that. So, we're hoping that turns into something beautiful. If you're at home and doing this, you can just smoke the wood, smoke the grain. A lot of people are smoking their own grain and stuff. They have little, contraptions that they made with a little fan that pumps smoke in there.
Couple of things that I would add in terms of using wood smoke is one, try different woods, or latch onto a commercial example or something that you've tried that you like, because the different wood smokes are so different and they present so different to peat smoke that you're either going to love it, hate it, or barely notice it's there. That's why Randal, giving me a commercial example, I've actually had 2 cherry smoked whiskeys and I enjoy them.
Yeah.
Oak, I don't enjoy so much.
Right.
Nothing personal on the.
Right.
On the,
no.
It's a good whiskey, but it's not my taste, right?
Exactly.
Number 2 is I'd suggest taking it easy on the amount of smoke you put into the whiskey first and building it up if you want more.
Yep.
But it is very interesting to see that using a wood smoke can create a really delicious whiskey, right?
Absolutely.
And it is 100% something extra and fun and easy to be able to play with at home.
Yep, exactly.
So get amongst it, guys. Anyway, he's already got another whiskey out. So.
We're moving on. We don't have time to play around. Okay, this is Colkegan. They are out of Santa Fe. Now, again, I know I tried to get stuff that's more commercial, but in my bar, you get what you get. Now, this is an American single malt, but basically it has a small amount of peat in it. So you're going to get a little bit of peat coming in. But this guy...
woo, sir, woo. I said, woo, sir.
Yeah.
Tiny pause for me, please.
Lord. We're going to be throwing that. Anyway, so it's just a really straightforward, good, not super smoky. Think of if you've had Highland Park. Right away, I get, the typical vanilla, but it's super malty because obviously it's a single malt, American single malt. So it's super malty. Vanilla, caramels, all that stuff. But yeah, it's just a great little.
The biggest thing I always notice going from bourbons to single malts, especially this style of single malt, is you switch from a big, chewy, candy-like sweetness to a soft, confectionery, like baking confectionery kind of sweetness. You go from caramel and like chocolate to glazed pastry. Anyway, crazy. I know that's not what we're here for, but it's
crazy.
Very interesting.
No, it's awesome. And so on the finish, when you take it in, you get all that sweetness, all the maltiness. They call it a malt funk, but I don't get a whole lot of that on this one. And then at the very end, you get almost like an ashy smoke. Like somebody's smoking or there's a bonfire or something down the hill and you can smell it. You get that. It's not super peated. And that's why we have the next guy coming in from the house. This was a 18-month-old peated single malt, 100% peat.
Okay.
So super peaty. Well, it was sitting supposedly for 18 months, and then it went black. For some reason, the wood did something to it, and it was charcoal. So it got redistilled, put on the used blackberry peach brandy oak, and it's been sitting for now 9 months. On the brandy oak. And as you can tell, the color is still right there. This one, it's just, I feel like it's candy. But
it is. It's even softer than this.
Absolutely. But then the peat shows up at the end.
Kind of kicks you at the end, yeah. Peat is easy to play with because it's easy to get peated malt.
Yes.
Thomas Fawcett's Bards, they both do great. Heavily peated smoked malts.
Yeah.
And they're accessible pretty much worldwide.
Yep.
If you're interested in it, play with it. It's amazing.
It's fun.
And there is a giant spectrum of what you can put in peat. Mm-hmm. As displayed here.
Right.
Beautiful single malt, soft, delicate, sweet, pastry, malt, little bit of peat kicking you at the end. Much more bold single malt with a lot more peat coming through at the end. With an interesting fruity kind of like sweet twist in the middle.
Yeah.
The world's your oyster. The one thing I would say definitely is if you're going for this, second use oak. Second use oak, for sure. Otherwise, it'll taste like a bourbon.
It'll taste like a peated bourbon, which that might be good, but you're not gonna want that.
This is good, dude.
Oh yeah. So call to action: mess around with stuff. Do all the little crazy stuff, the meme spirits and stuff like that. Do all that because, and then find commercial whiskeys out there that you can get and try and compare them and see if you can match up with the big boys. And when you start matching up with the big boys, then you're onto something and just go from there. So
yeah, 100%. The one thing I'd add to that is don't try and match up everything with the big boys.
Exactly.
Pull out a certain thing from a whiskey like this that you like. So for example, I'm going to smell it. Mm-hmm. There's 2 things I want to make from it. I'm never going to make the same spirit, but if I can make a spirit with a soft, like glazed pastry, kind of between a fruit Danish and a like plain donut, like a plain glazed donut sweetness, and have a similar amount of peat at the back end, I'd be completely happy. Everything else might be totally different, but those are 2 yardsticks that I can use to try and sort of hone my understanding of malt sweetness and peat.
Yep, exactly.
Awesome examples, amazing Texas whiskey, beautiful setting, even better discussion, and it's been an absolute pleasure to hang out with you over the last few days, man.
Hell yeah.
Where can people find you? Like, where do they find you, man?
Facebook, Instagram, _Whiskey Shaman, or I have a website. It's whiskeybusinessfbg.com or net. Nice. Just give me a holler. Even if you flick me a DM, we can talk shop. We can do all that. It's no big deal. I just love whiskey. I love everything about it. I love chasing the craft. I love new and unique things. So just get out there and do it.
And if you happen to find your way over to the Chasers of the Craft Facebook page, behave yourself. Because you saw the nice side of Randal today.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want to see the bad side.
You'll be gone. We don't mind a little ass hattery, but yeah. Well, like we always say, just don't be a dick.
Yeah. Number one rule in life. Don't be an asshole.
Yep.